Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest episode of Expert Insight. My name is Dan Clubb. I will be your host as ever, and I'm joined by a familiar voice stroke face to the channel. It is the brilliant chief business and football writer for the Liverpool Echo, Dave Powell. How are you doing, Dave? You good?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, really good. Off season tends to be my busiest, so yeah. Well, there's no football to be played half the time. It's my time to shine.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked and all that. No rest for the wicked. Let's get straight into it then. We sit here on Thursday, the 25th of July, with Arne Slot and his 28-man Liverpool squad over in Pittsburgh in the United States, of course. I wanted to get you on because I want to speak about a few topics, but I want to start off with the fact that Liverpool are in the US after 5 years away, and really who stands to benefit from that. And to start off with, how are you surprised at all it's taken 5 years for Liverpool to go back to the US? I know there's sort of reasons as to why that's been the case. You know, obviously the COVID pandemic and trips to Austria and stuff like that, and obviously the Hong Kong one as well more recently. But does it shock you at all, given where our owners hail from, that it's taken 5 years to get back there?
Not really. I mean, we missed a couple of summers because of COVID, and during that period, when they came out of COVID, were allowed to travel again, they went to Singapore, was it? So the reason for that was that they had a number of significant commercial deals which they hadn't been able to satisfy fully, that needed some exposure. So that was largely the motivating factor behind that. In fact, on one of those tours, they signed up Standard Chartered, didn't they, for an extended spell as club main partners. So reasons for it is that really opportunity knocks this summer. I mean, there's 5 out of the big 6 clubs who are going to the US, and then you've got clubs like Bournemouth who are going out there, Villa, etc. So there's only Spurs who aren't going in there, and the reason for them not going out is because they have Son, and they're going to try and make hay while the sun shines and monetize that relationship they have with Asia, which makes sense. But from everyone else's perspective, the US is fertile ground now. Really fertile ground. I mean, they've got a World Cup in 2026. The Premier League is more popular than it ever has been at any point in history. And while the USA '94 was a major turning point for American soccer, the MLS was formed out of that, but it never really kicked on. This time is different, really. So I think there's the interest in the fandom that exists around the sport in the US is increased significantly. And I imagine this particular World Cup will be incredibly impactful. So clubs are going out there now. They're jostling for position, really, and among a marketplace which has interest in football and has disposable income.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the part. So that's when you've got a population of 200 million that has the ability to engage, and you are appealing in a different. I mean, they're not stuck with the tribalism that exists previously. You know, they're quite willingly they'll go along with clubs that have either strong branding or strong club narratives, which Liverpool do have. So that's the reason why they're out there, really, is to get the product in front of, in a physical presence, an audience which is going to be hugely significant over the next 20 years.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen you mentioning narrative a couple of times. It's a really interesting line to it, actually. But just on the tour then, how important is it sort of from a commercial standpoint for Liverpool? I imagine massively so. Obviously, the football inside of things and what happens on the pitch, and obviously certainly under Arne Slot, and obviously all his implementing of his ideas is absolutely crucial. But away from the pitch, it feels almost equally as important, it's fair to say.
He could have done what he needs to in this pre-season by staying within 30 miles of Anfield, really. I mean, I had a conversation earlier on around in the 90s, pre-season friendlies were largely Premier League teams would play lower league sides, or they would play, top tier, middle ranking European sides during a pre-season campaign. Now they're playing each other. So, the big Premier League sides are playing each other during pre-season. There's no grey area with this. The reason they're out there is for commercial reasons and to generate revenue and to increase the brand. The Premier League will be out there in force as well. So the Premier League representatives who are trying to do exactly the same as the clubs are doing, because the Premier League want the Premier League to be the most dominant domestic football league in the world, and they want the US to be part of that, because ultimately the US is the market which will help prop up the media rights over the next 10 years. So that's the reason for it. Yes, there will be, be a very worthwhile pre-season for Arne Slot and his side, but in reality, it's there because you've got games in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Columbia, South Carolina, and Philadelphia. So those are three games being played at three big stadiums in demographics where Liverpool feel like they can make meaningful strides in terms of growing their fan base, and that's kind of part and parcel of it. I mean, Manchester United had great success in the 90s, early 2000s in touring. They kind of set the bar fairly early on, in fact, and everyone else has followed suit. Now it's a vital part of what football clubs do. It delivers around 10 to 15 million pounds in straight revenue for that summer alone. Not to mention the potential you could have for increasing merchandising sales or through fan events that they do, boots on the ground stuff. So there'll be live events taking place for supporters clubs. There'll be Liverpool legends will go out there and they'll take part in events, and it's all about brand growth. And it's no different than a sponsorship would do. Really, it's all about making sure what you've got is seen by as many people as possible in the best light as possible.
Yeah, it's smart. It really is smart. It feels like a very worthwhile endeavour, certainly in terms of off the pitch, if not so much necessary on it. And you touched on sort of the areas that we play in there and cities and the stadiums, of course. Are you aware of sort of, obviously you touched upon the fact that they are looking to grow the fan base in terms of the population in and around that. In terms of the local interest, in terms of they're obviously supporting clubs. I know Philadelphia's got a big Liverpool base over there as well. Do they go to these areas for a reason? Are they cherry-picked, hand-picked because of that? Or is it because they see an opportunity to really tap into a fresh market? What is the local interest scale and how sort of scalable up is it, do you know?
If you look at where some of the football clubs go on tours, so Chelsea have seemed to have made this strong link with the West Coast, and they had a friendly with Wrexham the other night. Obviously, Wrexham has a strong Hollywood link because of Ryan Reynolds. Chelsea's owners, or Todd Bowley, has a stake in the LA Dodgers baseball team. So they're appealing to that kind of glitz and glamour people who may have a skirting interest in football and may just want to get involved in something which is on brand. Whereas Liverpool are probably, they've done New York, Boston, and South Bend in the last tour. So, it makes sense that they would go to different locations this time. So they've gone to Pittsburgh, Columbia, and Philadelphia. So certainly, I don't know too much about Columbia, but certainly Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, working class blue collar cities, which have had a history of industry. Certainly in Pittsburgh's case, history of industry which collapsed or is no longer as strong as it was. So that was a steel industry. So obviously Liverpool, you think about the docks. And that kind of industry disappeared, being diminished, certainly. So there is that link between those two things, the kind of the working class element of it, but also having a story and a compelling narrative plays well in certain markets like that. And I think that those places offer that. Also, the going places where there is already some element of football interest, but maybe it's not served by local teams as well as it should be, or maybe where there isn't enough major league interest. So Pittsburgh has the Penguins, which of course FSG, what's another reason why they go in there. Philadelphia has the Eagles and the 76ers, but also the Philadelphia Union. So Philadelphia is a strong sporting city, big population, diverse demographics. So, but then Pittsburgh is kind of got the Penguins and the Steelers. So there's strong sporting interest in there, but maybe not served for football as much as maybe it should be. So there is that element to it. And I think that Liverpool have a narrative and a story to tell, which is unlike any others. So, and that is compelling to to fans in different countries. Certainly, if they're trying to think about what team, if they're coming into football or soccer for the first time and they're thinking about what's compelling, why would I invest my time and my energy into following this? Why would I get up at at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch this game? It's because, and Liverpool offers something different, as in it's kind of community. It's a global football club with kind of a very strong beating local heart and an intense acknowledgement of its responsibility and its social awareness. So, and obviously it's had more than its fair share of kind of tragedy and turmoil. So all that is makes it very, very interesting to people from the outside looking in, because it has a beating heart and it has demonstration of a beating heart and how fans actually are impactful and they form part of what the football club is, and that can't be underestimated. So imagine the strength of Liverpool's fan base and the way they're passionate about the football club is one of its. While yes, when you go on social media and you think about transfers, it can be quite a that kind of element of passion can bleed over and be quite frenetic when you think about transfers and the need for them. But I think when it comes to why people engage with it, I think how passionate the fan base is one of those unique selling points. And FSG will know that absolutely. And I think they've kind of leaned on their own knowledge of the US sporting market and fans to cherry pick the places they've gone this summer. It wouldn't have been sticking a pin in the map and just deciding wherever. It would have been thought out process. So yeah, I think they've probably picked. But also, it's 3 stadiums where they can get 85, 90,000 people in, and that's also worth money. So there is that element of it too.